Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 457 based on novel. So let's start. Outside Python River Army were two soldiers talking with each other beside the lake. They seemed to be at ease. One had 3 faces and 8 arms, while the other had 1 face and 2 arms. A gleaming trace of green light suddenly slashed the sky. There was a trace of dim, golden light hidden in that green light. It sparkled like a rainbow in the sky. It's Commander Swan Queen. The two soldiers gave each other a look. Both appeared pleased as they transmitted their voices to talk. Chengmu did it. Swan Queen came to Python River Army. Tell our ancestor now. In Purple Moon Holy Land in Universe Ocean. Purple Moon ancestor looked down and gave an order. Keep waiting. Once Luo Feng dies, tell me immediately. Okay, answered both universe masters. Purple Moon ancestor smiled and thought, the true gods of void space who can be the leaders of special armies, especially those true gods of void space who were capable of creating brand new special armies, are all exceptional. It's been a long time since Swan Queen created her special army, and all the precious inheritance in the army was provided to her. Among the true gods of void space, she is definitely one of the top-tier beings. Besides, she is also known for her proficiency in illusions in the army. With her power, even I can't rival her. True gods of void space like these, who are skilled at illusions, must have had their willpower reach the level of eternal true gods, maybe even consecrated. No matter how powerful a law master is, he'll be trapped in the illusions. Luo Feng indeed came from the outer world, so it's easy to determine his true identity. Once this is revealed, his soul will be annihilated, which means he'll be dead forever. Luo Feng, if you were less powerful, or if you were a true god, I wouldn't care. Unfortunately, you have the inheritance from Du and Dawn River, which poses a great threat to me. You can only blame yourself for that. Purple Moon ancestor smiled. Those universe masters realized that the ancestor was joyful because he knew Luo Feng was about to die. In the world of Jin, the rainbow light was breathtaking. It was the symbol of Swan Queen. It's Commander Swan Queen. It's Commander Swan Queen. Outside the palaces of Law Master Team and True God Team, 2 True God Guards and 4 Law Master Guards were on patrol, and they immediately identified the light. After all, the commanders in the special armies had lived for a long time. In the world of Jin, those commanders weren't afraid of anyone but the generals, so their temperaments changed. Some were low-key like ordinary soldiers, some were reckless and aggressive, some were brutal, and some just loved attention. True gods who had been in the special armies long enough all knew the temperaments of their commanders, so they didn't dare to mess with them. After all, the commanders were far superior, they could just kill the true gods. A rainbow arrived. It was Commander Swan Queen. She had a mesmerizing face, and her tail was exquisite. The 2 True God Guards greeted her. Commander. Commander. Fire polishing Wu. Commander Swan Queen raised her head, glanced at the guards, and stopped caring. After all, she always abused the soldiers working for her. She would punish them according to military regulations if they crossed her. Why are you here, Swan Queen? A voice came out. Swan Queen heard the voice. Then she walked toward a palace close to her. She had notified the commander first as a means of showing respect. Even though she, as Swan Queen, was aloof and looked down upon true gods and law masters, she treated other true gods of void space belonged to the special armies with respect unless they were foes. Swan Queen, said a being wearing fiery armor. All 6 of his eyes bore fiery patterns, and his eyes looked like scorpions. You've only been here twice since I became a commander. The first time was to congratulate me for becoming a commander, and the second time was when you punished my soldiers. Why are you here again? Did one of my soldiers cross you again, so you want to punish him? It's only a soldier. If you wish to punish him, you don't need to come here personally. That's not the case, said Swan Queen. Oh, said Fire Polishing Wu. What kind of issue are you referring to? They both held extremely high status. Even true gods of void space masters of North True Ocean and 9 Smoke Marsh had to respect them. After all, this was the military, and they were commanders in special armies. No ordinary true gods of void space could reach that level. They roamed the world of Jin without fear, so almost nothing was a major issue to them. Listen to me. A soldier under my command, Chengmu, came to me and Swan Queen then described what had happened in a casual way, which got Fire Polishing Wu thinking. A creature from the outside? Fire Polishing Wu was shocked. Some creatures did enter here a long time ago, but I wasn't even born yet, and nobody has set foot in here from the outer world since then. Could it be? Are you sure? I found it ridiculous at first. Swan Queen sighed. However, the same soldier killed himself to prove he was serious. He was so worried about the world of Jinn that he committed suicide. Although I'm also not certain yet, I reckon we need to inspect it carefully. Fire Polishing Wu nodded. It was indeed a serious issue. If a soldier had killed himself over it, how could they just let it go? I have the soldier Milky Way under me. Fire Polishing Wu nodded and closed his eyes. I'll check where he is. Follow me. Fire Polishing Wu went out, followed by Swan Queen. There were islands in Python River Army, and each island only allowed one owner. Fire Polishing Wu was the commander of the Python River Army, so he could easily check on which soldier corresponded to each specific island. He quickly found the island Luo Feng had selected. On the island, Luo Feng sat on the rooftop of the stone house, and there was grape wine beside him. He appeared quite relaxed as he sipped at it. Although he looked relaxed, his mind was focused entirely on Moshe Body. Moshe Body was currently studying Shawu Wing. Back when Luo Feng was fighting that white-caped man during the task he took in Wu Chi Tower, Luo Feng had created the blade technique at top-tier level 7, 9 days path. Luo Feng thought that he could fully comprehend the third level of Shawu Wing now. The first level is time and space in chaos, and the second level is golden country. How about the third level? Luo Feng thought. Wu Chi God was different from Shawu Wing. Shawu Wing was for assistive use. It didn't make attacks directly. Besides, Wu Chi God and Shawu Wing could be used simultaneously as long as he wore a pair of wings. When wearing Wu Chi God, he only needed to wear a pair of wings. Wu Chi God and Golden Claw God were exclusive with the armor. Anyone wearing Wu Chi God and Golden Claw God couldn't wear True God armors. However, Shawu Wing and those machine-type valuables were mutually exclusive. Luo Feng wore Force armor and Shawu Wing at the same time. Huh? Just when Luo Feng was studying Shawu Wing with the strength of a world bestowed by His Majesty the Godly King, he suddenly felt two powerful ripples coming from the sky. Luo Feng looked up. Two beings appeared in the sky. One of them was elegant and colorful, and the other was wicked and fiery. Luo Feng looked up and saw two pairs of eyes. One pair looked high and mighty with even trying, and the other pair was green and seducing, glinting with hostility. A power force arrived. The area was blocked, and the space around the island was surrounded by void. Luo Feng frowned and thought, one thought created a void space. Are these two true gods of void space? Two true gods of void space showed up in the army. They might be commanders. Are they from the ordinary army or the special army? All soldiers wore uniforms, so it was easy to tell which army they belonged to. However, commanders wielded a much higher status, so they wore casual garb. Luo Feng hadn't been qualified to meet commanders from the Python River Army before. The powerful forces irritated Luo Feng. Fortunately, he had strong willpower. Otherwise, he would have been kneeling already. What do these two commanders want? Luo Feng wondered. He was in a different status with different power now, so he had a different attitude. If a normal soldier from the special army saw two commanders, they would have revered, not even daring to breathe loudly. After all, the commanders could kill soldiers recklessly and at will. Two of them landed on the island and glanced at Luo Feng. He jumped off the stone house. Humph! Swan Queen said coldly. Fire Polishing Wu, look at this soldier of yours. A lawmaster doesn't show any respect to us, two commanders. Swan Queen was upset by Luo Feng's attitude. Normally, soldiers greeted them with utmost veneration. However, Luo Feng was indeed a superior being in the world of Jinn. Even the four eternal true god generals treated him as the center of the universe. Other than His Majesty the Godly King, he had the highest authority. With such high authority, Luo Feng wouldn't just greet these two commanders with respect. That soldier is impetuous. Fire Polishing Wu felt upset as well, and he yelled, Milky Way, we're commanders. Have you forgotten what you're supposed to do? His voice rumbled in Luo Feng's ears. Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu were on their high horse. Luo Feng frowned, but he understood why they were so overbearing. They didn't do anything wrong. The hierarchy was pretty strict in the army, and the gap between a Law Master soldier and a true God of Void Space commander was considerable. The commander could easily get away with killing a Law Master just because the Law Master offended him. I brought this upon myself, Luo Feng thought. After Luo Feng completed the sealing task, he had been automatically sealed, which was strictly confidential. Even the 4 leaders from Godly King Valley had only confirmed that Luo Feng had succeeded after seeing the sealing task disappear from the list. Apparently, they couldn't find any news that Luo Feng had been sealed. His Majesty the Godly King didn't want everyone to know about it. While Luo Feng was still in Godly King Valley, the general of the East Army, Harmonious Snow, asked, "Milky Way, you are sealed now. Do you want to publicize it? If you do so, all 4 armies will know about it, and everyone will venerate you." No need. Luo Feng rejected the offer without a second thought. In Luo Feng's opinion, he was only a guest in the world of Jin, and he would leave this world silently without coming back. There was no need to inform all 4 armies about him being sealed. Besides, his enemies were those in Universe Ocean, whom he could easily deal with on his own. Thus, Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu had no idea who Luo Feng was. They had already been hostile toward him before coming here, and they were further upset by his attitude. "There is no need to talk with him," said Swan Queen, transmitting her voice. "He seems to be a creature from the outside world. If we hesitate, we might not be able to catch him. I'll perform illusions and lure him out. If he is not a life form from the outside but actually a life from our world of Jin, we only need to punish him for being disrespectful. But if he's a creature from the outside world, the consequences will be catastrophic." "Okay," Fire Polishing Wu said, transmitting his voice. "Do it, Swan Queen." The 2 commanders soon decided what to do. "Commanders," said Luo Feng. But as soon as he opened his mouth, invisible yet mighty godly power immediately surrounded Luo Feng, trying to drag him into an illusion. It was a top-tier skill of true gods of void space, so no matter how impressive Luo Feng was, he wasn't able to resist it. Fortunately, he held a different status in the world of Jin now. The strength of the world of Jin could be easily manipulated by Luo Feng. With control over this strength, he instantly sensed the godly power coming right at him. Luo Feng was shocked that the commanders had attacked him without any pretext. Luo Feng was infuriated. "Break," he yelled. The strength of the world of Jin around him trembled, annihilating the incoming godly power instantly. Luo Feng was furious that the 2 commanders had attacked him without warning. He had originally desired to talk with them in a calm and reasonable way, but now, he aborted that plan. Instead, he waved his hands furiously. Suddenly, a giant palm formed entirely by the strength of a world appeared directly above the 2 true gods of void space. Grey air flowed around that palm, and the patterns were visible. Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen were dumbfounded at the sight. How? Just as the commanders attempted to dodge it. Peng! The giant palm slapped down. Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen felt like the entire world was pressing against them, rendering them defenseless. He's only a Law Master. How? The 2 true gods of void space were smashed into the ground, creating 2 holes. "Get out!" Luo Feng yelled. Hong! Hong! The 2 beings flew out from beneath the palm. Commander Swan Queen, who had been mesmerizing, now had her feathers ruffled. She was tied by the ropes formed by flowing air. Fire Polishing Wu was also in a sorry state, similarly tied up by ropes formed of air. The 2 of them felt utterly restrained. They couldn't even struggle. How? Commander Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu fell to the ground and shared a terrified glance. Luo Feng had been able to defeat them instantly. He must have been Luo Feng, an eternal true god, at least. Perhaps a top-tier eternal true god. That soldier Milky Way seems to be a Law Master, but can it be that he is actually an eternal true god? That's right. Only generals are able to tell a real eternal true god from others. A noble eternal true god is willing to disguise as a Law Master. He must be onto something. Chances are, he's a creature from the outer world. Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu concluded. There were only a certain number of eternal true gods in the world of Jin. Even if someone had just become an eternal true god, they had to become so from a true god of void space. They, as commanders, should have known them. As for this soldier Milky Way, they didn't know who he was, yet he was able to defeat them instantly. Why are you here? Luo Feng looked at Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu coldly. And why did you attack me? Why did you try to kill me just because I wasn't respectful enough? When that blurry godly power rushed toward him, Luo Feng didn't know whether they wanted to attack him with illusions or annihilate his soul. He didn't want to gamble. Who are you? Swan Queen said. A law master can't be this powerful. Is there really a great being this powerful in Python River Army? I had no idea, said Fire Polishing Wu. They were both trying to stall time. As soon as they were defeated, they had sent a message to the general of the East Army, Harmonious Snow, at the same time. They thought that since they were in the East Army camp, and General Harmonious Snow was also in the camp, he could arrive here instantly. They only needed to stall for time until Harmonious Snow arrived. Then they could capture this spy. Huh? Luo Feng frowned, looking at the void space in the distance. Even though the two commanders were captured, and thus, the void spaces were broken, Luo Feng still blocked the surroundings around them with his strength of a world so that the soldiers outside couldn't see anything happening inside. A door appeared in the void space, and a being flew inside. He wore silver armor and looked elegant. He had white skin, and he was flying toward the island. The aura of power around him was far stronger than that of the two commanders. Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu, who were tied up and kneeling on the ground, were exhilarated to see the general. General, they both yelled. General Harmonious Snow. Luo Feng turned around and smiled. Milky Way. Harmonious Snow smiled and landed. He saw the two commanders tied up on the ground and yelled, Swan Queen, Fire Polishing Wu, why are you here? Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu were stunned. They thought that General Harmonious Snow would surely fight this spy from the outside world once he arrived, but they seemed to talk with each other like friends. General Harmonious Snow, yelled Swan Queen. This soldier, Milky Way, might be a spy from the outside world. Be careful. Be careful, General. Don't be fooled by him, said Fire Polishing Wu. He has the power of an eternal true god. No matter how good his story sounds, don't trust him. Please, we have to check on his past, from when his birth, to him becoming a law master, up until now. We can only identify him after that. Don't trust him so easily. General Harmonious Snow glanced at Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu, instantly shutting them up. I don't need you to tell me what to do, he said coldly. Do you think you're qualified to know who Lord Milky Way is? You have dared to cross Lord Milky Way. Let's just hope he doesn't kill you. Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu were baffled. Lord Milky Way? Of course, they immediately understood that Lord Milky Way held a high status and could kill them easily. However, they thought that generals were the noblest beings in the world of Jin. What kind of being was so revered by the generals that they called him Lord? Suddenly, both Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu realized that they had encountered some fundamental secrets. Swan Queen and Fire Polishing were terrified. They could tell that General Harmonious Snow and Milky Way were chatting with each other, but they couldn't hear a word they said, which made them even more terrified. They were afraid that Lord Milky Way might kill them. Milky Way, said General Harmonious Snow. You should have listened to me and publicized your true identity. As a sealed great being, no one will dare to disrespect you. No need. Luo Feng shook his head. The world of Jin's godly king had high expectations for him, so he needed to be careful. What are you going to do with them? Asked General Harmonious Snow. To the world of Jin, two true gods of void space were nothing. Nobody could stop Luo Feng if he really wanted to kill them both. Ask them why they came after me first, said Luo Feng. Okay. Harmonious Snow nodded. He then transmitted his voice to the two commanders, who quickly explained how it had happened. General Harmonious Snow turned around and looked at Luo Feng. A law master soldier from in Swan Queen's army, Cheng Mu, said that you're a creature from the outside world. He went so far as to kill himself to prove it. General Harmonious Snow didn't suspect Luo Feng whatsoever. He knew that this soldier had been affirmed by His Majesty the Godly King after a string of procedures. The Godly King was certainly intelligent enough not to let a spy be an heir. Cheng Mu? Thought Luo Feng. Cheng Mu. Cheng Mu Master was a universe master from Purple Moon Holy Land. Purple Moon Holy Land must have thought that Luo Feng was a nobody in the world of Jin. They hadn't even changed their names. Beings from Purple Moon Holy Land? Luo Feng became aggressive. You want to kill me? Then I'll kill everyone from Purple Moon Holy Land in World of Jinn. Purple Moon Holy Land had been treating him with such hostility time and again. Previously, they had intervened in the primal universe internal war, seeking to uproot and destroy the humans' foundation once and for all. And now, they wanted to destroy him in the world of Jinn. Luckily I have received a title. If not, I would be caught unprepared. Being able to self-destruct to destroy my other bodies to ensure my survival is already more than what I can ask for. Luo Feng was a little intimidated during the aftermath of his situation. If he did not receive a title, there could be two possible outcomes. One was to be directly killed by Swan Queen, which would be a true death without any second chance for revival. The other outcome was that with his own willpower, he would have to grasp the few seconds he had to self-destruct before he fell into the illusion. If he could self-destruct, at least he could protect himself from death even if his two other bodies were destroyed. However, the treasures that he had brought along, such as Blood Ghost Blade and Boat of Mausoleum, would be gone, especially the Boat of Mausoleum, since there was a space of inheritance inside. Of course, only an heir would be able to enter the space of inheritance. The space of inheritance was under the control of his other energy body, so even if it was seized by his opponent, that other party would still be unable to enter. However, while the other party was denied entry, his own earthling original body would also have no chance of entering, only his other energy body could continue to remain within this space of inheritance. And this space of inheritance was lost on the outside. Harmonious Snow looked toward Luo Feng. Milky Way, those two commanders, Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu. How do you intend to deal with them? Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu? Luo Feng frowned. It was clear that he was feeling some anger. Harmonious Snow responded right away. The two of them were not aware of your true identity beforehand. They took you to be an ordinary warrior, which was why they were that. Milky Way, would you, slightly? Harmonious Snow, Luo Feng interrupted him. You may rest assured that I am not so extreme as to go after their lives. However, for pressing their luck and trying to go over my head, there is no way I can let them off easily. He nodded. The punishment for them is very simple. Luo Feng had gone through the punishment once, but what he said made Harmonious Snow blink in disbelief. It was almost unimaginable for someone like Milky Way, who was a godly king, to come up with such a handling method. Do you get it? Luo Feng asked. Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen were in a sorry state. They were both bound by ropes composed of condensed airflow, so there was no way they could move whatsoever. Both lay on the ground. On the surface, they were already a sorry sight, but in their hearts, they felt all the more anxious and flustered. The two could see Luo Feng and Harmonious Snow, who were not far away. Even if they could see the two in conversation, they could not hear a single word that was being discussed. Swan Queen, you really got me into deep trouble this time around, said Fire Polishing Wu, raging and furious. I am also in bitter trouble, too, said Swan Queen, also unable to hold back her emotions. How would I have known? From what I know, the four generals were the highest and most powerful of our world of Jinn. Now, this Lord Milky Way has appeared out of nowhere. Our world of Jinn is obviously not like what it appears to be the surface. It is much more mysterious. I just did not expect us to have to be the ones to chance upon this mysterious side. Fire Polishing Wu shook his head in agony. The Jinn dynasty might have fallen, but out of those formidable great beings who had followed His Majesty the Godly King out to battle back then, there were quite a few who were much stronger than the four great generals. Perhaps this Milky Way was one of the super great beings who had followed His Majesty the Godly King out to war and managed to survive. Let's wait. And pray we are spared. Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen lay down, feeling hopeful. At that moment, General Harmonious Snow approached them from afar. General! General! Both pairs of eyes lit up. They had been under his command for a long time, so they believed they should have a chance of surviving. General Harmonious Snow walked over. Looking at Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen, who were both lying on the floor, he said without further ado, the two of you are lucky. Lord Milky Way does not want to take your lives. Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu let out sighs of relief. So long as they were spared, how good it would be to stay alive. If this had been a war with other powerful groups, losing their lives would not have been a big deal, but to die in their own territories would be a grievance too great to bear. Both of you might be exempt from the death penalty, but certainly not spared the rod. General Harmonious Snow looked them both in the eyes. You both have accumulated a tremendous amount of military credits over countless years and have quite a number of treasures in your possession. Now, you shall be stripped of all your military credits and treasures as a form of punishment. Ah! Both pairs of eyes widened in shock. Heavens! How could this be? This was simply... Did you not hear me? General Harmonious Snow frowned as he ordered, "Leave your treasures behind." Why aren't you both leaving? The ropes composed of condensed airflow on fire polishing Wu and Swan Queen automatically broke down and dispersed. If you are not going to leave your treasures and depart, does it mean you intend to give your lives instead? There was a hint of coldness in his eyes as General Harmonious Snow spoke. How different Milky Way's status was. He was an heir highly regarded by His Majesty the Godly King. For His Majesty, sacrificing a warrior was not a loss worth lamenting, but the situation would be different for an heir. Two miserable true gods of void space, still hoping to bargain for more than their worth. Yes, yes, yes. Fire Polishing Wu said, first to respond. Thank you, Lord Milky Way, for your benevolence. Thank you, General, for your help. All of a sudden, a pile of treasures appeared beside him. Within an instant, all of Fire Polishing Wu's automaton-type treasures, soul treasures, armors, weapons, and all other materials appeared before them. He kept none at all. Even the so-called suit of armor on his body, which was, at that moment, merely godly power in its condensed form. Harmonious Snow looked at Swan Queen. Although she was most reluctant, Swan Queen was unwilling to die. I will leave mine, too. Within a short moment, Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu had left a pile of treasures. Then, now in a sorry state, they flew off. Their manner as they flew was no longer mighty, as it had been before. Swan Queen no longer left the compulsory streak of flowing, rainbow light she always had while flying. Instead, she flew off wordlessly in a most forlorn manner. No other warriors were around to witness such a scene. They are gone. General Harmonious Snow said. Millimeter Luo Feng walked over and looked at all the treasures on the ground. He nodded and with a single wave, putting away everything before him. As for the military credits that they both accumulated, I will arrange for those to be transferred over to you. General Harmonious Snow lamented with a sigh. What a ruthless hand you dealt. For law masters and true gods, they are still able to earn military credits through the missions assigned by the army. But the moment they become true gods of void space, there are no such army missions anymore. If they want to earn military credits, it is incomparably difficult. Yet you took everything that they had painstakingly earned over the countless years away so swiftly and quickly. Luo Feng merely smiled. Of course, he knew. This was the reality in the world of Jin. Lawmasters and true gods were all assigned army missions, but to assign true gods of void space, who were commanders, with missions. For what? Could they possibly be assigned to kill other true gods of void space of the world of Jin? This was why they were not assigned any army missions, unless there was some foolish true god of void space who dared to provoke the army. Then a few true gods of void space would be deployed to settle the situation. This was when a certain amount of military credits would be given out. But to provoke the army? How many of these true gods of void space would be foolish enough to dare to provoke the army? This was why, generally, the only way for true gods of void space to earn military credits was to command, lead, teach, and guide troops. Commanding itself was a contribution of service. Naturally, every different level of command would bestow these true gods of void space with different amounts of military credits. However, accumulating military credits in this way was far too slow. General Harmonious Snow left, too. Luo Feng headed toward the military point. Just as he entered the hall, the world suddenly changed. A figure accompanied by a beam of golden light appeared before Luo Feng, and most deferentially, he greeted, "My greetings to Lord Milky Way." Luo Feng smiled. Every warrior coming in here would have met this figure with golden light. In the past, this figure bathed in golden light was completely hard-hearted, yet now, it was incomparably reverent. There isn't a single warrior around. Luo Feng looked around. The surroundings were void of everything. Apparently, Luo Feng had been led to an isolated domain. Lord Milky Way, this is the ring of the military point. The figure bathed in golden light flipped his hand, and in the middle of his palm, an exquisite ring appeared. Lord Milky Way may make use of this ring of the military point to enter the world of military arms anytime you wish. So long as you are within the world of Jin, you may enter the world of military arms. There is no need for you to personally come down here to the military point. Luo Feng's eyes lit up. The authority of Lord Milky Way begins the moment you receive this ring of the military point. The ring flew from the figure over to Luo Feng. With arm outstretched, Luo Feng received the ring. I would like to look at information on all the warriors who are Lord Masters and those who have joined the 4 major armies in the recent 3 eras, he said. Also, would you be able to simulate the auras of these warriors? Of course, said the figure bathed in golden light. The life form's aura is indeed the most accurate identification method to determine their identity. Of course, we can do a simulation. Lord Milky Way has enough authority for such a request. Suddenly, in the empty space beside him, figures started appearing one by one. All these were simulations of the warrior figures who had joined the 4 major armies over the recent 3 eras. At first glance, all of them made a mighty sight. That's quite a big number, Luo Feng muttered to himself. Luckily, it is only 3 eras. Luo Feng was considered to be from one of the earliest batches. Since he had entered the world of Jin, only slightly more than 2 eras had passed. Warriors sent by Purple Moon Holy Land could certainly still be found within this time span. Let's begin. Luo Feng quickly started checking through. How fast could the speeds of conscious calculation and godly power response of a great being be? Merely a moment had passed. He had very quickly made his selection. A total of 96 from Purple Moon Holy Land joined the 4 major armies, Luo Feng said quietly. In fact, Purple Moon Holy Land had sent more than what he had calculated. However, to be accepted into the army, the Universe Masters needed to first join the selections. No matter how amply prepared Purple Moon Holy Land was, there was no way it could ensure a 100% entry rate. These 96 of them, Luo Feng contemplated. If I want to kill them all, I must do it in one swift move. I cannot afford to take my time. The moment they are alerted, they will escape very quickly. Millimeter? That's not right. Just as Luo Feng was deliberating on how he should kill these 96 Universe Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land, his expression registered a slight change. If I kill them all this time around, won't I be alerting Purple Moon Holy Land? Then, when the next era comes, will Purple Moon Holy Land still send Universe Masters in here? Primal Universe, Primal Secret Region, in the endless remote ocean. Teacher? Amidst the mighty waves, a lone figure appeared. It was none other than Luo Feng. Luo Feng, said Primal Chaos City Leader, looking at him. You mentioned you have the authority to kill all the Universe Masters of Purple Moon Holy Land who are within the world of Jin. Luo Feng nodded. The Wu Chi Tower mission. The deal between the Godly King and himself. It was highly unlikely that Luo Feng would tell anyone else about these or several other factors. This Purple Moon Holy Land has always pitted itself against us humans, Luo Feng said in a low voice. If not for the fact that I am of a different status and authority level within the world of Jin, I'm afraid I would nearly have been played nearly to death by them. This time, I must take my revenge well. Let them, Purple Moon Holy Land, be unable to regain their strength and vitality within the next few reincarnation eras. But I was thinking, the 2nd era has yet to end. Only a part of it has passed, so I'm guessing they will likely send in another big group during the 3rd era. Now that the 3rd era is nearing, when the time is right, I will cast the net and wipe them out once and for all. Primal Chaos City Leader's eyes lit up as he nodded repeatedly. Great. They used the 1st era to find out more about the place. The 2nd era, they only sent in a portion of their Universe Masters. When the 3rd era comes, they will send in another batch. By then, within our Universe Ocean, almost half of every group will be considered as having entered the world of Jin. To make a move, we do indeed have to wait until the 3rd era. Also, not only do we have to make a move against Purple Moon Holy Land, but we also need to make a move against the United Forces Alliance, which always seem to be fighting the Human Alliance. We may have the upper hand now, but to truly gain the absolute advantage, who knows how long that will take. Now that you are in the world of Jin, let's finish off those in the world of Jin with one blow. The power of the demons, the bug soldiers, the automaton race, and several other races will definitely weaken. Eventually, they will no longer have the ability to resist. Primal Chaos City Leader's eyes were sparkling with madness and anticipation. This video will end here.